Helen Bedford is Professor of Midwifery at the University of York in England. After an early career in nursing and educational research, Helen registered as a midwife and worked clinically in hospital and community settings and practice development. Helen then followed her passion and applied her qualitative PhD studies by entering midwifery education. During her educational career, Helen has undertaken a wide range of educational and leadership roles in Scotland and England. She is a senior fellow of Advanced HE and qualified coach. In 2023, Helen was awarded a fellowship of the Royal College of Midwives. Dr. Mike Parker is an academic with 20 years experience in the NHS sector and 10 years experience in the university sector. He completed an honors degree in acute healthcare at the University of Leeds in 2006, a postgraduate diploma in medical education at Sheffield Hallam University in 2014, and his professional doctor of education in December 2020 at the University of Hull. Mike was elected as a fellow of the Faculty of Emergency Nursing and a fellow of the Higher Education Academy in 2011. Mike's clinical background is in emergency nursing, and Mike has worked at several major trauma centers and emergency departments over the last 20 years. Mike's clinical and academic interests are the identification of the deteriorating patient, resuscitation, and trauma care. Mike is a registered instructor with the Resuscitation Council UK and instructs and directs on national courses. For the last 3 years, Mike has made invaluable contribution to pre-registration midwifery education and our connected curriculum, predominantly applying his expertise to the emergency midwifery management module. Okay, thank you everyone, and also Amy Coates will be presenting with them. Thank you very much, and I'll hand it over to you.
Lovely, thank you so much. We're absolutely delighted and really honoured to be able to present at the Virtual International Day of the Midwife Conference today, so thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Eli. And I say it's great that we've got Amy with us, who's one of our third-year students. And we're also representing Carol Lindsay, who is our midwifery programme's lead, two of our fantastic students, Becca Kelly and also Erin Jackson, who I know is on the call, and also Dr. Sarah Blower, who is an Associate Professor of Child Development and Family Wellbeing. And we're really also representing our midwifery education team and our students as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity today. As we've mentioned, we're going to be talking about the model that we use here at the University of York for our midwifery education, which is called the Connected Curriculum. And we hope it really connects with the conference theme today, and it's fantastic to see so many different colleagues and students from around the globe with the different roles that you undertake. So thank you so much for joining us. If you could move us on to the next slide, please, Eli, that would be great. Thank you. And I suppose the thing that we often want to acknowledge is that sometimes the curriculum can seem like perhaps not the most interesting of topics. It can be seen as something perhaps quite dry, a little bit boring, or we may not always understand it. But we really hope that you do get something out of today's session, whether you're a student, clinician, researcher, or educator. And really what we want to get across is how we've been able to operationalise the requirements and the standards needed to become a professional midwife in the UK in a way that really engages and enthuses our students, because we generally want them to be the best qualified midwives possible in terms of providing excellent care for women and birthing people and families. And that's the heart of what we're doing. And we hope to explain how we're going to be using how we use the connected curriculum to do that. So just a brief session overview. We're going to spend just a couple of minutes just talking about midwifery education and at the University of York, what we do, and also a brief overview of the UK context for international colleagues. So a little bit about our development journey and how we've selected the connected curriculum to use. We'll say a little bit about what it is and give some examples of how we have applied it in practice for our midwifery education, and then with some reflections and summaries from our students and colleagues as well, and then thinking about what next. And I say we do hope that this curriculum overview is something that you might want to potentially use in full, or even just a small part of it. And I think it's also really important to say that the material that we're using is freely available. It's an open access educational resource, which I think just reflects the sort of value of, you know, working with colleagues across borders, across institutions. So you're able to look at the materials afterwards if you've got interest in the curriculum model. So thank you so much. So if we have the next slide, Eli, please. That's wonderful, thank you. So yeah, so just by way of a brief introduction, we're quite a small midwifery team, and we're a fairly small university actually in the north of England, in the UK. And we have a 3-year BMid honours programme, and also we have an integrated 4-year master's opportunity. So our students can study for 3 or potentially 4 years. We have around 40 students per year for our intake. And we deliver our programme in partnership with our clinical partners, which are really key and valued in terms of us being able to deliver the requirements in the UK. And just a brief overview of those. Midwifery education in the UK is all at degree level and typically honours level. And we have to have at least 50% of the programme for theory and 50 in practice, and with 2,300 hours of each. And we're regulated by the NMC, the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And it was really about every 10 years or so that we have the opportunity to sort of relook at midwifery standards, and the future midwife standards are the ones that we're integrating across the UK at the moment. We're as a quite small university, established in the early 1960s. Oh, I think we've gone next to the slide. Can we go back? Fantastic, thank you. And just to say, really proud of the teaching quality, and also we're part of what's called the Russell Group of Universities in the UK, which are very much focused on research activity and being part of a global community as well. And I think 2 other things that are absolutely key for us and our midwifery education. And one is our university strategic vision, which goes back to the roots of the University of York. And that is, when we were founded, it was very much for a university for like local communities and international communities, which is exemplified by being a university for public good. And I know when our vision was published at the university, I remember looking at it and thinking, that is midwifery. That is what our students do when they're learning, and that's what they do when they go on and graduate and work, whether it's locally, regionally, nationally or internationally, because we know our midwives, again, not only from our university, but obviously across the globe, are always working for public good. So we feel it's a really good fit. And also, finally, we're really proud to be accredited as Baby Friendly Gold with the UNICEF BFI accredited standards. And again, they're absolutely key to the work we do to promote breastfeeding and women to achieve their breastfeeding goals. So we can have the next slide, please, Eli. Thank you. So just briefly, when we're thinking about how we took this opportunity, they say that we get around every decade to meet the new standards. They're really quite, if anyone's been involved with them, they're really quite substantive in terms of breadth and depth. And I think necessarily so, considering the importance and role and scope of the midwife. So when we were designing the curriculum, we had to meet these new demanding standards and also fit with our own HEI, that's Higher Education Institute, and their structures and processes. And a key aspect of what we did was working with our stakeholders. So that's our students, that's our clinical partners, the service users who use midwifery and maternity and neonatal services locally, and also our academic and university colleagues. And what we did was we looked to keep existing strengths that our students and us as a team identified. So we wanted to keep those elements that we thought were working really well, but also look for new opportunities. And one of those is having an integrated 4-year master's. And the other thing, which is always so difficult to do, but it's trying to sort of look forward and have like a future-proofed curriculum, which is quite difficult. But we wanted to make sure that, you know, throughout the course of these standards, we would be able to keep a really dynamic and sort of flexible curriculum for our students. Because obviously we're always facing lots of challenges. And certainly when we were designing the curriculum, we had quite a few. We started in COVID. We had to have a pause whilst we were responding to that. In terms of future-proofing, just as we were sort of getting our curriculum sort of completed, the university said, well, the year after you start, we're going to move from terms to semesters. So we had to make sure that our model would fit with that. And also, as I'm sure is the case across the globe, it's a time of constant challenge in terms of midwifery practice and education. So it's trying to keep that enthusiasm and that real drive to have a curriculum for excellence in quite challenging times. And I've become a bit of a curriculum nerd, I think, in my sort of 20 years of being a midwifery educator. And when we were doing the process, I used to remember vividly that thinking it was like a Rubik's Cube, because if you make one change, there's usually another change. So it's trying to make sure you've got all the requirements that are needed, but you've got to fit them together in a way that's got that kind of coherence to it. So I hope people are familiar. I think the Rubik's Cube is probably a global sort of game, isn't it? So I hope you're familiar with that. So if you could move on to the next slide, that would be great. Thank you. So in terms of having this really ambitious set of standards, which we're really proud of, we're so fortunate in the UK. We've got our national evidence-based standards, which are very firmly rooted in global midwifery research and excellence. And it was the Lancet series on midwifery in 2014 that was an absolute backbone for the work that Professor Mary Renfrew and her colleagues did in designing the standards that we now have from the NMC. And they incorporate the ICM standards and also the Baby Friendly Initiative standards. So we'd got this great foundation to work from. So we'd got the what I consider the what, and we'd also got the why in terms of the evidence base, which was really valuable. But we also wanted to try and operationalize that in a way which really kind of also is kind of about the how. And when we did this, we were also thinking about midwifery as a really values-based profession, and one that had very much research and evidence at its heart. So we can have the next slide, Eli, please. Thank you. So when we were looking for a way to make this curriculum really live, we came across the work of Dilly Fung and colleagues, and they are from the University College in London in the UK. And they've been operationalising for a good few years now what they call a connected curriculum for higher education. And that's across their different disciplines, no matter what they are, whether they're from arts or sciences. And when we were looking at this model, we just thought, actually, this is a really great fit with midwifery as a profession in terms of this values base that we have and the need for evidence and the need to encourage our students and us as educators, as we're working to support them, to have learning through research and inquiry absolutely at the heart. And as you can see from the slide, that is there in the centre. And then to try and make that live, I think there's actually potentially more that we do as well, but they've got these 6 areas. As you can see, number 1 is students connecting with researchers and with the institution's research. The next one is a through line of research activity, which is built into each programme. And the next one, number 3, is about enabling students to make connections across subjects and out to the world. And again, I feel that midwifery does that in so many ways in terms of supporting women and girls, human rights, the science, the art of midwifery, thinking about being a global midwifery citizen as well as a global citizen. And then number 4, we feel is really strong for midwifery because obviously academic and workplace learning are just really integrated like that all the time. And the other 2 which you needed to consider were the student assessment. So making sure that the outputs of learning are directed at an audience, so they've got real value, that they're really applicable, and they really make that learning live in terms of students receiving feedback from the assessments, knowing that they're able to put their knowledge into practice, and also theoretical assessments that do that too. And then finally, the petal number 6, or the area number 6, is around supporting students to really connect with each other across phases, or in our cases, we call them stages or years, and also with alumni, with the graduates from our programme, to try and be part of this ever-growing supportive midwifery community. So we as a team discussed different models, and we felt that this was really the one for us. And over the next few slides, I've got just a few examples which we're going to share with you about how we have made each of those areas live. So again, if we could have the next slide, please, Eli. Thank you. And we're actually going to start with number 2 and then go back to number 1, because this is a bit of a foundation. So trying to get this through line of research activity into our programme. And we wanted to start here because actually what we've deliberately done is in week 1 of the programme with our first year or our stage 1 students, we introduced the concept of evidence-based practice. We have quite a sort of a gentle introduction, but we want to make sure they've got this as a foundation to understand why it is so important for high quality care for service users. And then we build on that throughout the first year and then on through each module in each year or stage of the programme by having seminars. So we choose a whole range of materials from a range of different journals, different topics, lived experience as well from service users, and we integrate lived experience and research throughout our modules. And then at the start of the second year, we have a 20 credit module about evidence-based midwifery care. And that enables our students to really understand and start to build confidence in research methodologies, being able to understand research, think about where there are gaps in evidence from research, and really, say, just build that interest and enthusiasm and understanding the value of research. And that's our students. That was a breastfeeding seminar that we did out in the sunshine, which we were really lucky to do one summer. That's with our current second year students. On the next slide, please. Thank you. And so going back to the first element, which is about connecting our students with the researchers and the institution's research. So to do that, we make sure that we support our midwifery colleagues with the research that they're doing, be that through PhDs or also the research expertise that we've got in our team. And I was trying to pick a nice picture about to make research interesting, and that's our students doing some yoga, which we had around supporting their resilience and well-being, which one of my colleagues, Dr. Helen undertook for her PhD. And some examples of what we do are around our colleagues from our family wellbeing team in the Public Health and Society Research Group, and Dr. Sarah Blower, and I'm going to refer to her work a little bit later on as well. We select research that's happening in our department to really make that research live and for our students to realise how research is connecting with policy and implementation. And we also cross the university. So another example would be colleagues from the sociology department in their work with the Voices in Partnership project, which was also about recording video consultations as well. Thank you. If we have the next slide. Thank you. And this one is a really big one, I think, which we've really enjoyed implementing. And this is about supporting our students to make connections, for example, through activities like today. Some other examples which we have are around sustainability. We try to make that a thread right through each year of the programme, and thinking about how midwives can contribute, but also in this wider context of within our National Health Service, the NHS in the UK, they've got an ambitious plans to be net zero by 2040. And so we try and make sure our students understand the importance of sustainability. We have a whole range of activities around making our students feel like they're part of a global midwifery community. So, for example, we've had some fantastic speakers in our online global days. And in fact, Steph Marriott is on the call. She is one of our fantastic alumni. And again, I know she's presented, which we really do appreciate. And it's trying to make those connections for our students to feel part of this community. And another example would be around the Baby Friendly Initiative work, where we try and think about breastfeeding in a local context, and the work we do with our local charity, the Treasure Chest Breastfeeding Group in York. And we also obviously move out to sort of national and international agendas and thinking about the Lancet series on breastfeeding 2023. So trying to help our students make that connection through different topics. And finally, through lived experience. And that is, for example, our Maternity and Neonatal Voices Partnership, which is part of an NHS required opportunity for service users to give their voices and to make change in local services. And that helps our students understand how maternity policy lives in the UK as well. And for the next slide, I'm going to hand over to Mike. If we can go on to the next slide, please, Eli. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. The midwifery programme sequences theory modules to align with practice modules, which in the midwifery programme run a practice module runs for 1 year of the programme. And the sequencing allows the students to receive theoretical content in the safety of the classroom before entering clinical practice to apply the newly acquired theoretical content. The midwifery content delivered in the programme is spiralled, so increasing in complexity at each stage and year of the programme. And it's in the classroom where students are taught by clinical and academic specialists, ensuring that they're receiving the most up-to-date evidence-based content, enabling them to make evidence-based decisions in clinical practice, and therefore providing the best possible care to the people that they're caring for. And this is one of the reasons that I was asked to be part of the midwifery programme. As mentioned in the introduction, I'm an emergency nurse by background with over 20 years clinical experience, and I am heavily involved with the Resuscitation Council UK, which is our national governing body for resuscitation. And I'm privileged to also sit on the subcommittee of the National Advanced Life Support Committee. So I was asked to become involved in the midwifery programme and bring my clinical resuscitation and deteriorating patient expertise. So when the new programme was developed, my first introduction to the programme is with the year 1 in biological science, where I teach the renal system. And this is really good because this enables me to get to know the students in year 1 in their first semester of the programme. But then my clinical specialties and my subject specialties are brought to the forefront in year 3 when they do the emergencies in maternity care. So my role in that module is a series of keynote lectures which look at how to assess a patient who is deteriorating or collapsing in front of them. So we use the recognised framework of ABCDE, or the A to E assessment framework. I then go on and give some theoretical lectures around the inflammation and the inflammatory response, and specifically sepsis, and how to identify sepsis and manage sepsis. And then I do a workshop with them on cardiac assessment and how to interpret 12 lead ECGs, which actually, and I'm looking at Amy now, the session starts where they're all really bamboozled, but at the end of it, they've got a robust, systematic way to assess ECGs, and this is one of the sessions where you really do get a light bulb moment where all of a sudden students can start to make sense from these squiggly lines, and I really love doing that session with them. After we've had the theory content in the lecture theatres, we then go to the simulation unit and we put some of this into practice. So we have a simulation carousel, and the carousel repeats twice. So there are 3 simulated teaching stations. One is looking after someone who has community-acquired pneumonia in there. So they're in the first trimester and they have community-acquired pneumonia leading to sepsis. So we use high-fidelity simulation, and students allocated roles, one scribe, one's team lead, and then we rotate the roles. At the end of each teaching scenario, we have a learning conversation, and I'll just touch a little bit more on that at the end. But the second simulation teaching that we do is anaphylaxis. This is a woman who is in her first trimester and needs intravenous antibiotics for an infection and has an anaphylactic reaction. And then the third simulation is a lady in their third trimester who has a pulmonary embolus, and we need to make the decision to do a C-section. So they're the three simulated scenarios that we use. The majority of that it plays on some of the theoretical content that we have. But then afterwards, we have the learning conversation. So we have a small debrief at the end of each simulation, but then we get together as a big group for a learning conversation. And it's during the learning conversation where actually my role is to facilitate their discussion so that I sit back and they essentially debrief each other. And I've found watching it, I found it to be really, really empowering. And afterwards, the students have said how much they've got from simulation, but also how much they've got from the learning conversation and from also being able to debrief each other. So that's my small involvement in the fantastic midwifery curriculum. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mike. We often say Mike's an honorary midwife, and you absolutely are. But thank you so much, because I think that gives real detail into just one example, and we use specialists throughout the programme. So thank you so much, and it's going to link to the student reflections shortly. So thank you so much, Mike. You can have the next slide, please, Eli. So another example is around how the connected curriculum lives in terms of assessment. And again, we try to make sure that assessments in all our stages have got relevance to different audiences. And again, it's not always possible for absolutely every assessment, but we, in terms of the actual output, in terms of things like exams, but of course they do connect theory to practice. And one of the key elements is around having practice assessments in all stages. So in their clinical assessment, students obviously have a real clear link to that audience of their peers, their colleagues who are registered, and also the service use, and getting feedback from them and families. And then just a couple of other examples. In the first year, our students devise in their intrapartum experience an educational leaflet for service users, and they've got to look at the evidence base and apply that, but also make it into language that's really helpful for service users. And then in the third year, we've got two projects where service improvement is one of them, where we get students to think about a topic that's of great interest to them, where they want to make a change, and that includes sustainability as well as one of the elements they need to consider. So they're making real life service improvement plans for projects that they would like to hopefully eventually see in practice when they register. And also our students are currently, they've done their planning, they're about to start delivering and evaluating educational activities, and that's with service users and or students as well. So again, that's a key element of different audiences. And then finally for this part, for the next slide, please, Eli, just going on to thinking about alumni, and again, we've got many opportunities. So our students do an elective at the end of their second year that might be national, local or international, and they come back at the start of their third year and they connect with the new first and second years to talk about that and connect with each other there. We have Refreshers Week activities, and Refreshers Week is between the two semesters we have in our academic year, where we have a global online midwifery day for the last 2 years, and also a face-to-face day where all our graduates can get together, they can connect, they can learn. MidSoc, which Amy's going to talk about shortly, and the amazing peer support that our students give each other in clinical practice. And as I've mentioned, we have great connections, and we're so valuable. So it's so valuable to have our alumni, and they connect with our programme and support us in terms of being role models as speakers. And we've got our specialist bereavement midwife in the picture there, and also in terms of their expertise in clinical practice and in admissions. So I'm just going to hand over now, if we can have the next slide, to Amy, who's going to talk about her experience, and also one of her colleagues, Becca as well. Thank you.
Hello. So like Helen said, I'm just going to provide some of my reflections as a student. So to start with we have professional self modules that run across the 3 years. And it's in addition to our clinical learning as well. It provides opportunities for us to develop our communication skills, working as part of a multidisciplinary team. And it's really good to apply to placement when we're encountering complex and challenging emotional scenarios that we encounter on top of the challenging clinical scenarios that we experience. We've also attended, like Helen's mentioned, global midwifery events, which really help us develop our understanding of midwifery in a global context. It's raised awareness of midwifery issues in the UK and worldwide. It's also allowed me to take inspiration from other maternity systems across the globe, especially with our elective placements. People have been all over the world and brought back fantastic stories about the midwifery that they've experienced overseas. And it's also really sparked a passion for me in equitable healthcare and the political side of midwifery and sustainability, like Helen's mentioned. That's something that's really important for me, and putting that in the global context is really, really inspiring and giving me something to work towards in my midwifery career. And then Midwifery Society, or MidSoc, I'm on the committee for MidSoc, and it really helps network between cohorts and make friends in all the other years and provide a bit of a support system. So today, to celebrate the International Day of the Midwife, we've all joined together and gone for a picnic and just had a little bit of a chat, something nice and relaxed to sort of ease us into our next placement block, connect with each other, and provide a little bit of support. If somebody's feeling a bit down, there's a group of people that they know that they can go to, especially because it's quite a challenging degree. And we also learn from each other and inspire each other within midwifery. So also our emergencies module, as Mike touched on, we have the mix of evidence-based teaching and then the opportunity to go and practice that in the clinical skills unit. That's been really, really beneficial to embed our learning and practice that evidence-based teaching and really see that come to life in the clinical skills unit. And then I really feel when I'm on placement and there's an emergency situation, I have that experience and that practice in the clinical skills unit to really embed when I am on practice, and I'll carry that for the rest of my career. And I just wanted to add that overall, the connected curriculum has really nurtured and inspired my passion for midwifery. So I'm still very connected to the reason why I came into midwifery in the first place. And it's also given me new passions within midwifery and career options that I didn't know were possible to work towards as part of my career. And I really think that it's equipped me with all the skills to flourish in my midwifery career in the future. So if we could have the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is just a reflection from Rebecca, who's also in my cohort, and she said that the connected curriculum has enhanced my midwifery education by placing strong emphasis on active learning. My experience has been both interactive and hands-on, whether through simulations or applying knowledge and theory to real-life practice. This has been particularly important to me, and when emergency situations have unfolded whilst on clinical placement. If we could have the next slide, please. And she continues, a key aspect of the programme is its focus on reflective practice, which I feel has helped to create a positive and supportive learning environment for me and other students. Each year, the programme includes a dedicated module on reflective practice, which has allowed me to critically analyse my experiences and identify areas for improvement and growth. I feel that the connected curriculum has equipped me with the skills and reflective mindset needed to become a competent midwife. So that's a reflection from Becca, and I'm going to pass back to Mike now.
Hi, so this is from Erin, stage 2. The curriculum helps to build a sense of midwifery community within the university, our practice placement area, the wider region, and also globally. Being taught by specialists means that the content is communicated with passion and always applied to current practice. It's fascinating. Next slide, please. In the past week alone, we've attended sessions taught by an epilepsy nurse, specialist nurse, a lactation consultant, a maternity transformation midwife, and a hospital chaplain. Having a curriculum that links out into the world of practice in this multidisciplinary way is really fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll just go through the final few slides quite briefly. And this is our wonderful colleague, Dr. Sarah Blower, who is an associate professor in I must get a title correctly. It's Child Development and Family Wellbeing. And again, Sarah's is a fantastic supporter of our programme, and she's done some great work to make her research really live for our students. So her reflections are that it's enabled this sharing of evidence to support research and grow that next generation of midwives. And it's helped to support the reach and the impact of the research that she and colleagues have been doing in our department. And also this academic community, which Erin mentioned, and trying to see how our students can be aware of this cutting edge research that's happening in the department, but also be kind of part of it as well through some of the amazing workshops that Sarah and colleagues have done, which have looked at aspects of study design to make that really live for our students and also support them with interpreting research findings. Could I have the next slide? Thank you, because this gives an example. And it's with the Me and My Baby tool. So Sarah did a workshop where they'd used this tool, which is around sort of linguistic development and conversations with babies. And originally, the tool had been used for postnatal use. So in the workshop, Sarah worked with our students to look at their suggestions for rewording and thinking about questions that could be tested in a future pilot for using this in an antenatal context. So it really helped our students to kind of make that live. And the next slide, please. And again, just Sarah's had some really helpful reflections on how she's had conversations after the sessions. Students have often gone to her and are they really interested in perhaps doing research as part of their career. And they found that it's been helpful for the research team to be able to develop research that's really useful, as she says, on the front line. So again, it's been really positive to see that connection in action. And final slide, please. Thank you so much. So in terms of a brief summary, we're just delighted that our mid-22 will be graduating. They graduate in the winter, but it'll be July when they finish. So it's the first run through of our connected curriculum. So we're still kind of learning, we're still trying to develop it, but we've just really enjoyed, and I've certainly enjoyed the fact that it's been quite a dynamic approach to always have in the back of your mind how to make these different areas really live and support our students to be really engaged, questioning students who are going to, really make their learning live in terms of the practice wherever they go and end up working. And I just put back that picture of the Rubik's Cube because I think we can start with all the components, but the lived experience for each individual student ends up being so unique and individual, and they take from it, according to their interests and their passions. And there's a couple of final points in that we're really delighted the university is developing their offer for alumni. They've got this York for Life programme, and that's for alumni who've graduated, but also students to connect with. And we're hoping to develop that and have a midwifery area because we can have groups within there so our students can continue to make those connections after they graduate. And also we'll be looking to do some more reflections and hopefully some more formal evaluation to keep the connected curriculum going. So the next and final slide. So thank you so much. I'm sorry we've only got about 5 minutes left for questions, but thank you so much to my colleagues, and really happy to have any questions or observations from you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. Fantastic presentation. I saw a couple of questions and comments in the chat. Catherine was asking, do you participate in the QMNC opening keynote? And then
Yes. Yeah, thank you. It's a lovely question. And actually we don't. And I am aware of it. I was really privileged to go to the ICM Congress a couple of years ago, and I learnt about the work there. And that's one thing we haven't done, but that would be, thank you so much for the reminder, because I know they do some fantastic work. And again, I think it's about supporting, students and colleagues. Because I think as an educator, this approach has, I think, helped me to keep looking for those connections, keep trying to see where things fit, to sort of try and be creative about how we actually deliver the midwifery education. So thank you so much for that question, that comment, because that's something that absolutely, in fact, I've written it down as a reminder that we really ought to be engaging in this, because I think that would be wonderful. So thank you.
Great. And we have a comment from Sheila. And she says, professional self modules, great idea and so important given the nature of the reasons for failings in service.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sheila. And absolutely, I think it's so interesting in presenting and creating the presentation today. I actually reflect on the fact that whilst this is a framework, we've also got a number of other elements that support our students' learning, and those are things around being an anti-racist and inclusive curriculum, and also the support that's required for our students to I'm going to say thrive and flourish, because I think we need to be optimistic and we need to absolutely have that as the goal. But we also absolutely know it's a really challenging space to be in, whether you're a midwifery student, a clinician, an educator. And we engage in that head on in admissions and also in sort of the first weeks of the programme. We know it's challenging and we really want to support our students. And so thank you, absolutely. And those, I actually lead those professional self modules, and they're very much around, I think, trying to really support initially that change from layperson to professional, and then absolutely to try and ensure that our students feel really confident being allies where needed, standing up for human rights and engaging in a way with confidence, again, because they know the evidence, they know where midwifery, maternity and neonatal care needs always to be, when perhaps we're working in spaces where it doesn't always feel like that is the case. And I'll be quite nice on my colleagues if anyone else. Amy, do you want to say anything else there? Or any other questions? Thank you so much.
I don't really have much to add there, Helen. I think you've said it all, absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. We have a very supportive chat, I have to say. Loving to read this. And Jane and Claire. And Jane says, I really appreciate Mike's work in maternity emergencies. Students, you will never regret having emergency knowledge in your midwifery tool bag. And Claire says, this is such a lovely framework for learning midwifery. And do you have any insights on how this curriculum compares to other programs around the globe?
Yes,
yeah, and then 2 minutes warning.
Oh, yes, no, thank you. I actually don't know how it compares. And I know we've always perhaps used like a spiral curriculum, which I know a lot of curriculums do, but I just think it's actually something, it's been so interesting. And so they have done some evaluations at University College London, because it's been implemented for a good few years across different disciplines. And I don't know whether it's used across the globe, but I think it absolutely could be. And I think it's about, making it also what would be a really good fit for you and what would work for your institution. I think because it's, as I say, the heart of having a values base, but also evidence, and trying to support that evidence and sharing across the globe, and thinking about what international evidence we have, but also what evidence really works effectively for your for individual local communities.
Thank you so much.